Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down this 12-game NFL slate we have here for Week 2 NFL Sunday. Once again, $1 million up top to first place. So I'll be talking through my favorite plays, going over the best picks of the slate, building a potential lineup for tomorrow that you guys can use, and going over all the important information. So make sure to hit that like button. Really does help out my channel. So if we can get to 20 likes, that'd be great. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notification bell, follow me on Twitter, and check out my other videos, which will be out after this. I have a PrizePicks one and a Sunday Night Football one as well. So thank you guys. Let's get into it. Before I get into it, just want to do a quick recap of Week 1. Make sure to follow me on Twitter here, Heart DFS. But if we look at my recap for Week 1, made a few bucks back, which is solid. Like it's better than losing money, which most people do. So Week 1, I put in about 54 for the main slate in the afternoon slate there. One back 58. So not bad there, to get the money back and a few extra bucks there. That is the Week 1 recap. My best lineup was um, Tua, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Puka, Njoku, likely in the Panthers. It's frustrating because it's like all these guys went off, and it's like just if like Waddle and likely in Njoku, just you know, if they had solid games there, I could have been in like the top few, like top 1,000 of lineups, and could have had a really big day. Could have maybe had a sweat there if those guys did anything. But yeah, very solid Week 1 there. Let's get into this breakdown. All right, let's dive into this slate here. As I mentioned, 12-game slates. We're going to be building a potential lineup, going over my favorite picks, all that stuff in this video. Once again, if you could hit that like button, that'd be great. But if we look at this game here, we have the Raiders Bills as one of the first games up, 8.5 point spread, 47 game total. Chiefs Jags, the highest game total on the slate, 51. A lot of people are going to be targeting that. It's going to be a super chalky one there. Bears Bucks going to be under the radar, 41. Seahawks Lions, love that. Love that game to target. 4.5 point spread, 47.5 game total. Seahawks looked terrible last week. I mean, they were very solid last year, but last week, god awful. So I expect a nice bounce back game from them. Detroit, they're legit this year. Really, these are my two favorite games: Seahawks Lions and Ravens Bengals. 46.5 game total. Both teams look god awful last week, Ravens and Bengals. So really, really liking these two games right here as my favorite to target. Pack Falcons, 40.5. Kind of a dud there. There's some options there in terms of injuries on the Packers side. Chargers, Titans. I know a lot of people are targeting the Chargers pass attack. So I really like that. Joshua Kelly is the starting running back with Austin Eckler being ruled out. 45.5 game total there. Colts, Texans, 39.5. Kind of snooze fest. 49ers, Rams, same thing, 45.5. Tough. If Puka does play, makes it a little better, but it's tough trusting that Rams team against the 49ers defense right now without Cooper Cup, even though the Rams did look great last week. And then Giants, Cardinals, 39.5. Don't love much from this game besides both running backs and Darren Waller. I do like him a good amount. Jets, Cowboys, 38.5. 9 point spread. Commanders, Broncos, 38.5. It's just kind of a lot of snooze fest. There's a few games that are really standing out, as I said. Chiefs, Jags, Seahawks, Lions, Ravens, Bengals. Everything else is kind of under the radar that you can kind of get pieces from. So there should be a lot of opportunities to build out some very solid lineups this week. I really think this week is a double tight end week. Tight ends were god awful in Week 1. They barely scored any points. Every single tight end was god awful, and I think it's a huge bounce back week for tight ends. So I'm going to be running a bunch of double tight end lineups out there, and hopefully it works out in my favor because they are due for a bounce back here. So a lot of great tight end options we can go over. But in terms of quarterbacks, let's break it down. As mentioned, it's hard not to get to one of these guys at the top. My favorite is going to be Lamar Jackson there. God awful against the Houston Texans last week. Almost had more turnovers, fumbles in the second half than he did rushing yards. He had 2 fumbles, 3 rushing yards. He was brutal, just absolutely brutal. Not much else you can say about that. But still, really, really, really like him in that matchup against Cincinnati. Patrick Mahomes gets Travis Kelsey back, highest scoring game total in the slate. He looks like a fantastic option. Josh Allen, same thing there. Bounce back spot for him after throwing 3 picks. He's looking to have a solid game. I think Fields will be way under the radar here. It'll be interesting to see what his ownership is because if it's a fraction of any of these people around him, I don't mind taking a shot on him because you can just run him solo. You don't even have to stack him with anyone just because he has that massive rushing upside. But yeah, he's okay right now. It's just hard to really trust that Bears offense. Herbert against Tennessee, they're going to throw the ball a ton. Only threw it 33, a little surprising, but the run game was very, very well executed, and it was doing wonders against the Dolphins. So they didn't really have to pass as much because Joshua Kelly and Eckler are both getting a ton of yards on the ground. So I expect him to pass more this game. So I really, really like him. Mentioned, love that game there. Baltimore and Cincinnati. Love Burrow. Lawrence probably going to be the most popular quarterback on the slate right now, just because of that game total. They do like to pass a ton. They have Calvin Ridley, so he's a great option there. Dak going to be flying under the radar against that Jets defense, so he's a contrarian option. Goff, really like him. Same with Geno Smith. Mentioned that I love that game. Some other contrarian options would be like a Russell Wilson. He gets Jerry Judy back. Um, who else? Sam Howell. He does have some rushing upside. He will throw the ball a ton. Has decent wide receivers, decent options. So yeah, I don't mind him. It is a tough Denver defense there, and they're playing at Denver, so a little bit, tough matchup, but we'll have to wait and see. In terms of cheap quarterbacks, I mean, Zach Wilson, but it's really hard to trust him against Dallas. So don't really like paying down for these quarterbacks unless you're trying to get super contrarian. I think my favorite would probably be Geno Smith and Jared Goff. Otherwise, I'd just paying up for one of these studs and going with that. For the running back situation, ton of running backs to really like. There's a ton of guys right now, like the top 15 backs I guess, 15 of like the 30 backs in the league, the number one backs, are all getting a ton of targets and attempts out of the backfield. At least in week one. Obviously, that could change in this week two here, but I think my favorite two to target right now are Saquon, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and then going down to this cheaper range of Gibbs, Mixon, and Connor and Cook. So those like 6 to 7 running backs are my favorite to target. Obviously, McCaffrey looks great there. They should be playing from ahead, so he should get some running opportunities. But I love Barkley against Arizona. Arizona's a trash team. Barkley saw 12 attempts and 4 targets in a 40-0 game there. So love his upside there. Same thing with Derrick Henry. A lot of people are all over Tajay Sharp. Playing more snaps than Derrick Henry. It's week one. It's a fluke. They're not going to start giving Tajay Sharp more snaps than Derrick Henry. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where Derrick Henry goes for like 200 yards rushing. Like, love targeting the Chargers defense with the opposing team's running back, aka one of the best in the league, Derrick Henry. Love that man going into tomorrow. As I mentioned, really like Josh Jacobs. I think he'll get more of a boost from the targets in the backfield with no Jacoby Myers there. He saw 19 attempts too against a Denver defense that's very, very strong. So yeah, he's gonna be an absolute workhorse. Really, really like him there. I'll throw him in for right now. In terms of the other running backs, I mean, ETN gonna be super, super chalky because of that Kansas City Jacksonville game, or super popular, I should say. I don't know if he'll be chalky yet, but he'll be a very popular option. I do like him. As I mentioned, I do like these cheaper guys. Jameer Gibbs should get way more involved. He looked very explosive. James Conner, Dalvin Cook, just both workhorse backs. I prefer Cook over Conner just because Conner's on the Cardinals and they're just god awful. But he saw 5 targets, saw 14 attempts. He's a workhorse. I don't mind him. Great price tag. Going down a little bit, AJ Dillon. There's probably going to be no Aaron Jones, so AJ Dillon's going to get the start there. 5,900. He's a solid option. He'll be very popular. Who else do we have here? I don't mind Pacheco going against the Detroit defense. It's a solid option there. Pierce, I think this could be a decent option. Stroud is questionable. If he misses, I think they could rely on Pierce more. Going against a poor Indiana defense, I do like him. I think Javante could be like a sneaky contrarian player under the radar, but he's still on like a snap count, so hard to trust him fully 100%. Algier going to be a popular option. It's just really hard to trust him, Bijan, and Cordell. Like, they're all going to get looks. They're all going to get involved. I mean, Algier and Bijan both split the backfield last game. They both did really well. It's just I don't want to get my hands involved like with this game there. It's just tough to figure out what's going to happen. But you can definitely go there. It's a cheap price tag, but with 3 of those backs there now, it's just really hard to trust anything. Rashad White, I do really like him here against the Bears. He was very inefficient last week, but it is the Bears, so you really want to target the Bears. And he's a great, great option there. He gets a ton of volume and a ton of looks. In terms of the Ravens running backs, I think I'd still just prefer him to Lamar. He's the same rushing upside there and the passing upside. So it's like I don't feel great going to the Ravens running backs who are really not that involved heavily in the passing game out of the backfield. Joshua Kelly, going to get the start with no Austin Eckler. They do like to run multiple backs. So I don't think we can expect a huge, heavy, full workload for Kelly, but we will. I do think we'll see like probably 12 plus attempts, and he'll probably get 3 to 4 targets out of the backfield, hopefully. So he's a great option there at 5,000. Going to be very, very popular, but he's a great, great salary relief guy there at 5,000. The Tennessee defense is pretty solid against the run, so maybe that keeps his ownership down, but I think he's still pretty solid. But it could be one of the scenarios where he really needs to fall into end zone to save your lineup because it could be one of those where he goes for like 14 rushes for maybe like 70 yards and like 3 catches, and it's like you really need him to fall in the end zone at his like ownership for tomorrow to be worth it. So we'll have to wait and see kind of what that ownership comes in at. Other than that, if we dip down to a guy like Moss, another cheap option here at running back, 4,700, he should probably get the start. I mean, Deion Jackson was god awful last week, so they'll probably look to Zach Moss. Decent option there, salary relief. I think he's okay. Don't mind him. If you want to get super, super frisky, you can always take a shot on guys like Jerick McKinnon and Cordell Patterson, two running backs that are like wide receivers. That's really it for the running back situation. A lot to like there, as I mentioned. Moving on to the wide receiver room, lots to like here as well. Diggs looks great there. Really like Jamar Chase. This whole Bengals offense was god awful that last game. Like a bounce back spot for him. Amon Ra, as I mentioned, really like that game, so he looks great. CD, I think he's going to be a very solid contrarian option there against that Jets defense. Don't think a lot of people are going to be paying up for him or Devontae. They're going to go to Chase, St. Brown, or Diggs, or they're going to pay down for guys like Ridley, Allen, even a Metcalf. I think he might fly on the radar. So a lot of great options here. I do think Ridley will be over owned. A lot of people are going to, a lot of people missed out on Ridley. A lot of people loved the potential. I'd say 50-50 were on him. 50% of the people were on him. 50% of the people weren't. All the people who got burned by him are going to want to see this box score, and they're going to want to play him. And I think he's a great receiver. It's just in terms of what his ownership will probably be tomorrow. I think there's better options, better pivots on his team to like Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, or even the E10. I'd rather get to them than like a super, super chalky Ridley, even though he will be involved in that game. Keenan Allen, really like him. Saw 9 targets. Just a very strong, viable option there in that upper mid range. I think DK is just a very strong, under the radar guy. 5 targets, only caught 3. We know what he can do, and going against a Detroit team, really, really like him there. Moving down, Jerry Judy is back, so he's a solid option there if you're going with the Russ. I do like T. Higgins. Moving down more, I really like the Seattle guys, as I mentioned. The other guys, it's more under the radar, like Godwin and Mike Evans. I like them against the Bears. It's just more under the radar kind of plays there. Who else we got here? Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin. I do like him, even though it's a tough Denver defense. He always seems to step up. Moving down even more. Now you get into the cheap guys, like a Christian Kirk. He'd be a great pivot off of uh, Calvin Ridley. He only saw 3 targets. Best wide receiver on the team last year. Now he just became like an afterthought after the first week, but I do expect to bounce back here for him. So I do really like him. I love Zay Flowers. Saw 10 targets. Looks super explosive. Caught 9 for 78. He was involved in the red zone as well with a few rushes. So I think it looks very, very, very good there at 5,000. Super cheap. I do expect them to get more wide receivers involved, like Odell. He didn't see a catch until like the third quarter. But I love Zay Flowers for his price tag. Who else we got here? Puka. Don't love him going against San Fran. Collins looks solid. Only if Stroud's in. If Stroud's out, it's hard to really trust that passing in there for the Texans. Would rather take a shot on Pierce. As I mentioned, Zay Jones, he caught 7 for, he saw 7, caught 5 for 55 and a touchdown. He's just been a very, very solid, consistent guy. Tutu's down there. Robert Woods looks like he should be good to go. He saw 10 targets. So, Houston did throw the ball a ton. They're going to have to throw it a ton every game because they'll probably always be down. JSN, I do like him. Saw 5 targets, only caught 3 for 13. As I said, Seahawks are just god awful. So lots of like there for the Seattle side. In terms of like cheaper wide receivers, I don't really think there's a need to get down to any of these guys. It's more just dart throws, reaching down to all these people here. No one really stands out yet. As I mentioned, really, really like the double tight end look this week. So for the tight end situation here, Kelsey, obviously he's back. It's just way too cheap there at 7,600 for him. Love me some Mark Andrews. Love pairing him with Lamar Jackson. So I'll throw him in there. Hopefully he's not limited. What to wait and see. Kind of get more information on that for the tight end situation. But I love Waller. It's just you can't really look at that first game there for the Giants. It started off horrible. It was downpouring. You just throw that away in the trash. But they're gonna get Darren Waller heavily involved. That hamstring kind of messing with him. It's more of a nerve issue. It's not really his like muscle, which is good. It's just more so can he get through that pain and just that annoyance. So I really like him and Andrews is my favorite two because Kelsey's gonna be super super chalky. I mean, it's hard not to get to him, but I'd rather pay down and get off that ownership a little bit there. But I think those three are the best three options. Obviously, they're the most expensive, but those three are clear far by far the best. Kittle, I think is a solid option there. Um, Ingram will look solid in this game high game total. He saw 5 targets, good option. Higby should be super involved. I only saw 3, but I think he'd be heavily involved there. Um, who else do we have here that I do like? Jared Everett, Sam Laporta saw a good amount there in that Detroit game. We dipped down even more. There's a lot of great options here for a tight end situation. Dalton Kincaid, he played, I think, pretty much every snap and saw 4 targets for 26. He was like their slot wide receiver. Like he's heavily involved. Didn't see a ton that first game, but I expect him to get even more looks going into tomorrow. Jake Ferguson saw 7 targets. He was heavily involved. Dak does like his tight ends, so he is definitely there. Knox was still involved, 4 targets. There's just a lot of options. Look solid. Logan Thomas saw 8. He caught 4 for 43. He's 3,100. I mean, like there's a ton to love here. Troutman 5. He caught 5 of them for 34 yards. It's just a lot to like here for the tight end situation this week. Um, Great options all the way down. I think Mayer could be a sneaky one. Didn't see any targets. He was only on the field for 29. The Raiders, 59 offensive snaps. But with no Jacoby Myers, they're going to need pass catchers. He could be an absolute dart throw there. Just wanted to mention him. And then the last tight end I wanted to mention was I forget his name. He's on the Packers. Where is that Packers game? Right there. Musgrave. 4 targets. He should be a little bit more involved with, Christian Watson still out. Who else is still out? Yeah, Christian Watson probably still out there. No Aaron Jones. He's heavily involved in the passing game. So a lot of options there for the tight end that I really, really like. But as of right now, these are kind of my core plays. We'll have to take one of these guys out just because of salary relief. But this is kind of the route I'm starting to look at and build. Let's just take Henry out for now and leave it at this. Lamar, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Jamar Chase, and Josh Jacobs. Now, in terms of like kind of what the chalky build this week is going to be, it's going to be this. It's going to be Lawrence. It's going to be probably AJ Dillon. Let's just go Joshua Kelly. This is going to like the chalky, extreme chalk, cashy lineup that will be very, very popular tomorrow. Then for wide receiver, it's going to be Ridley. Tight end, obviously, will be Kelsey. And then you can see they can see like a stack with Travis Etienne, or we can go to, let's just say, like Zay Jones, or even Ingram, or let's just do Kirk for now. It won't be Kirk, but let's do. Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. It'll be Allen. I know he'll be in there. Defense. You can just punt defense. We'll just go. We'll just go Jets for now in the defensive spot. 3,900 left over. Not a ton of options left here at this price tag, but we can dip down into these tight ends as I mentioned. Some cheaper tight ends. We'll have to scroll up real fast. Throwing in Logan Thomas there, super cheap, 4,700 left over. You can get to Zay Jones, as I mentioned, so you get that double stack there. Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley, Kelsey on the bring back. You get super chalky Dylan Kelly, and then you also have Keenan Allen, a great option there in the mid range for the Chargers, who should throw the ball a ton. And you get Logan Thomas, who was targeted a ton there in that last game, 8 targets. Great red zone threat. And yeah, that's going to be a relatively pretty popular build. So yeah, those are the picks in the potential lineup build for tomorrow. Hope you guys like the video. Make sure to hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.